I request everyone to please keep your cell phones on silent as we are about to begin with our lecture. "91 years, a glorious flight, chasing excellence, unveiling light. From Calcutta's halls to the Delhi's embrace, INSA stands as the guiding face. Knowledge shared, horizons wide, science is our constant guide. I welcome all to this noble affair. Together we honor the science we share. I, Ananya Banerjee, extend a gracious welcome to the esteemed guests, revered colleagues, and dear audience for today's INSA Distinguished Public Lecture Series organized as we commemorate the 91st Foundation Day of Indian National Science Academy with its motto, Havyami Bhargah Savitur Varenyam. We are deeply honored and immensely privileged to share the momentous day with our esteemed guests, Professor Abhay Karandikar, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, and Professor Shekhar Mande, President, Indian National Science Academy. With great enthusiasm and reverence, I now request Dr. Brajesh Pandey to escort our distinguished dignitaries to the stage, adding their gracious presence on the dais. To herald this momentous occasion, I warmly invite our distinguished dignitaries to illuminate the ceremonial lamp, a timeless symbol of knowledge, hope, and wisdom. नमस्तुभ्यं सर्वदोष निवारणे पथिकां prakashayami deepasva sarvamangalam. Thank you, dignitaries, for lighting the lamp, symbolizing the triumph of light over darkness. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to Professor Abhay Karandikar sir for marking his spectacular afternoon with his gracious presence. I request Professor Shekhar Mande sir to extend the token of gratitude to the Secretary. Thank you, sir. I now request Dr. Brajesh Pandey, sir, Executive Director, INSA, to present the token of welcome to Professor Shekhar Mande, sir. Thank you, sir. Today's INSA Distinguished Public Lecture Series is organized in conjunction with INSA's 91st Foundation Day. The Academy was established with the objective of promoting science in India and harnessing scientific knowledge for the service of humanity in 1935. Through lectures delivered by eminent scientists and leaders in science and technology, during the Distinguished Public Lecture Series, INSA promotes science communication, encourages informed dialogue on issues of societal relevance, and fosters a deeper appreciation of the roles of science in making of Viksit Bharat. To showcase a warm welcome for the Foundation Day celebration of INSA, I now invite Professor Shekhar Mande sir, President, Indian National Science Academy, and as he extends his opening remarks to set the tone. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ananya. Professor Abhay Karandikar, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology, all the fellows of Indian National Science Academy present here, distinguished guests, colleagues. It's a great occasion for us that we are celebrating the 91st Foundation Day of INSA. Those of you who have not heard the history of INSA, there was an editorial written in the journal called Nature by its editor, the then editor, in 1933, Sir Richard Gregory. And Sir Richard Gregory had visited India and made a strong case for publicly funded science and technology organizations in the country. And prior to that, none of the academies existed in India, but because of the editorial that Sir Richard Gregory wrote, and then there was a general movement of public support for science and technology. One of the first things that happened was initiation of the 3 national academies, to begin with the National Academy of Sciences India, Allahabad, which was pioneered by people like Meghnad Saha and others. Then came the Indian Academy of Science, Bangalore, which was pioneered by Sir C.V. Raman. And then a few individuals together started something called National Institute of Science in Calcutta, which eventually was rechristened as INSA and then moved its headquarters to Delhi. INSA was also handed over at that time the job of coordinating with international agencies and so on and so forth. But once again, those of you who are not aware of the pre-independent history of India, this editorial had another effect, that the people who were involved with advocacy with the British government then, they got together, and prominently among them Arcot Ramaswamy Mudaliar and others. Arcot Ramaswamy Mudaliar was a member of Viceroy's Commerce Council, and they lobbied with the government to start significant public support for science and technology. And as a result of that, India's first ever scientific organization that came up today, which is known by the name Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, that was 1942. So this is pre-independence. Post-independence, of course, a large number of organizations came. Most of them emerged out of CSIR. For example, Department of Atomic Energy, discussions happened in National Physical Laboratory, NPL, in Delhi here, and stalwarts like Bhabha, Sarabhai, Bhatnagar, all of them were present, and they started. DST itself came into being in the early 1970s. Department of Sciences and Technology, actually its formation was transformative on Indian science, you can say, when the country was going through a lot of difficulties, and DST really actually helped in boosting Indian science. And DST has been led by a large number of distinguished people from its beginning. Professor M.G.K. Menon, for example, or Professor Ramurthy, Professor T. Ramaswamy, and so on and so forth. And we have the privilege of now having Professor Abhay Karandikar, who is leading the Department of Science and Technology for the past couple of years, and he is continuing to do that in a very great distinction. So it's a pleasure to welcome all of you for INSA's Foundation Day, and it's a pleasure to have Professor Abhay Karandikar along with us today. I'm also happy to announce that we have just inducted Professor Karandikar as a Fellow of Indian National Science Academy, and the formalities required for that. For example, the oath that all the fellows take and the signature in the register. We just finished that while sitting in the lounge, but we look forward to a lecture by Professor Karandikar on this occasion. Welcome all of you once again.
Thank you so much, sir, for enriching our knowledge about the history of INSA and also highlighting the pre- and post-independence landscape of science and technology in India. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, in recent years, the Government of India has launched a series of transformative programs and missions. To name a few: the National Quantum Mission, Bharat 6G Vision, India AI Mission, National Supercomputing Mission, India Semiconductor Mission, and policy frameworks spanning across space, geospatial, defense, and biotechnology to strengthen India's science and technology towards the vision of Viksit Bharat 2047. To enlighten us in this context, we are honored to have with us the stalwart himself. With us today, Professor Abhay Karandikar, a distinguished academician, technologist, and visionary leader who is currently serving as Secretary to the Government of India, Department of Science and Technology. Prior to this national role, he served with distinction as director of IIT Kanpur, an internationally recognized researcher in wireless communications and networking. And his group has made pioneering contributions to global telecommunication standards, including leading India's first ever IEEE standard on beyond 5G networks, followed by the landmark IEEE 2061 standard on frugal 5G networks, advancing affordable rural broadband and influencing future 6G architectures. Blending deep scientific insight and policy vision, Sir stands as the confluence of academic innovation and national leadership. I now invite Professor Abhay Karandikar Sir to enlighten us with his vision on the lecture titled Transforming S&T Landscape Towards Viksit Bharat. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, sir. And I think, as was mentioned, I think I will just in maybe in another 30-40 minutes, I will give a perspective on the current initiatives that the Government of India has started, and also what is the context and the challenges that we need to address in order to realize the vision of a developed country, a Viksit Bharat, by 2047. Now, if you look at the R&D growth story in the last 10 years, significant I think advancement have taken place. As all of you know that in Global Innovation Index we have risen from almost 90th ranks to 30th rank. We are now number 3 in terms of publication in science and engineering, just after China and US. And we are also number 3 in terms of number of PhDs produced in science and engineering, again after China and US. And we are also doing very well in terms of patent filings by resident Indians. We are now number 6 in terms of patent filings. We were maybe 12 or 14, some 10 years back. Now, in terms of our innovation story, particularly in terms of startups, as you know that we are now the 3rd largest startup ecosystem in the world. In terms of startups registered with DPIIT, the number is almost close to 2 lakhs, the number of startups. But I think the more important thing is that the number of unicorns, that is the startup having more than $1 billion valuation, has jumped from what were about 4 in 2014 to now more than 100, about 120 recently in 2025. So there are these 120 startups are having valuations more than $1 billion. And there is a sizable now in investment community. There are 1400 venture capital firms registered with SEBI, and there are more than 1200 incubators and accelerators across the country. And so really, I think in terms of numbers, if you see, our startup ecosystem has really matured. In terms of investment, I think significant investment is taking place. Last year, for example, almost 80 billion US dollars VC investment happened in the startups, which is again, I should say, comparable to the investments that have happened in the US, only next to China. Now, if you see, of course, there is always a question that how we are doing in terms of quality. So, I will give you a report which was published by the Australian Strategy Policy Institute in 24. They are tracking the research that is happening in 64 critical technologies, and this chart is based upon the number of publications. This is pure publications, not based upon the technologies developed. So, in terms of number of high impact publications, all indexed publications, and about a certain impact factor journals, and this gives what is the global share of the high impact publications. So, out of the 64 critical technologies, interestingly, China leads in 57 of the 64 critical technologies. US leads in rest of the 7, but actually we are not doing that bad. We are ranked in top 5 in 45 of the 64 critical technologies. So, in terms of number of publications, which shows that there is a lot of potential, lot of research is happening in our premier academic institutions, universities and research labs, and I will just give you some examples. Let's say quantum sensing, we are number 4 in terms of global share of the publications. In biological manufacturing, we are number 2 in terms of number of publications. Quantum cryptography, we are number 3. But obviously there is big challenge. We are nowhere in terms of the technologies developed in any of these sectors. So obviously there is a big gap in translating the basic research into the products or the technology or the translation of this research. But it also demonstrates where is the potential and where are actually the gaps. One interesting statistics of this, as you know, that in terms of the gross R&D expenditure of the GDP, we are doing very bad, and it's 0.7% of the GDP. That is also because of the fact, although our gross expenditure on R&D in absolute terms has doubled in the last 7-8 years, but since our GDP has grown significantly, the percentage still remains in the range of 0.6 to 0.7%. But more importantly, I think if you look at the share of the private sector is like 36%. But if you look at other developed economy, the gross expenditure on R&D is almost in the range of 2 to 3% of the GDP, but the share by the private sector is almost always more than 65% or 70%. So it is just the reverse in India. So 65% of the expenditure on R&D is being done by the government and the public institutions. But I think more than the expenditure, and this is directly correlated here, is that full-time equivalent R&D personnel is one of the lowest in the country. We just have 262 per million population. Even small countries like South Korea has that number significant. I mean 6 to 7,000 per million populations. So even in terms of full-time equivalent R&D personnel, we are actually very low, and that is directly correlated with the expenditure, because that many number of people who are engaged in the productive R&D work is also limited. Now if you look at this report of of the NIRF ranking from the Department of Higher Educations. So we have about close to 1100 universities and institutions. Now this report classifies that there are only 18 of our universities or institutions which can be classified as most productive in terms of, again, number of papers, publications that they are producing, and a large number of them, about more than 1,000 universities have been classified as the least productive. 80 of them are with zero publications institutions. So I think this is the spectrum. So if you look at the most productive and the medium productive, there are about 60 plus universities which are classified as productive, and these 60 plus universities are able to bring India in terms of number of publications within top 5 of the 45 of the critical technology sectors. So I think that is where we are, so there is a huge, so on the one hand there is a huge potential in terms of catching up purely in terms of numbers, in terms of number of publications, number of PhDs in science and engineering. So as I mentioned that we are number 3 after China and US with these many universities and the research labs. But at the same time, so there is therefore a potential to become number 2 or even number 1 if you focus on that. But on the other hand, whatever research we are doing, there is clearly a gap in terms of translating that research into commercializable products, technology developments, etc. And that is clearly linked with the low investment on the R&D by the private sector. So I think these are really 2 of the challenges. So some of the challenges which I mentioned here are therefore summarized here, that only a few Indian universities are dominating the high quality research outputs, and the institutions which are there in 18 and plus 45, either most productive and productive includes IITs, ISC, TIFR, JNCSR, AIMS. On the other hand, in countries like US or Germany, multiple universities actually drive the research leaderships. So that is something is clearly missing. The private sector R&D spending remains extremely limited compared to the global benchmark. So we don't have the private sector R&D labs. The industry academia collaboration is still evolving in the country, so that has slowed the translational of research into the innovations, technology developments, products, etc. And although we are number 3 in terms of number of publications, still I would say that we have a low share of the global research publications compared to our potential that we have, both in terms of number of students, populations, number of universities, and the talent base that we have. So strengthening the R&D ecosystem is really the key for India to gain the global leaderships, and therefore it is very, very important that we emphasize strongly the R&D and innovations to improve the global competitiveness, and the path of becoming Viksit Bharat will rest on the science, technology and innovation pillar. So with this backdrop, the government of India, so we do recognize in the government that these are the challenges and these are the opportunities. The challenges in terms of translational of research, and opportunities in terms of several potential that exist in our premier academic institutions and the research labs. So now in order to harness this, therefore in the government we have taken certain strategic action for attaining the technology and innovation leadership, And these actions, I can classify them into broadly two categories. One is on the structural reforms and some of the institutional initiatives, and I will come to some of them. And second one is some of the initiatives that we have taken in key sectors of the technology and innovations which will actually drive the agenda of our country becoming a developed economy or a Viksit Bharat. Now, of course, I do not have a time today to dwell on all of these, but I will take some illustrative examples primarily from our initiatives in the Department of Science and Technology. So, three major institutional initiatives that the government has taken recently is establishment of Anusandhan National Research Foundation, establishment of a 1 lakh crore research development and innovation fund, and several institutional and governance reforms that were taken in the last 2 years. And I will talk about sectoral focus areas, whether they are in quantum or cyber physical or electric mobility or semiconductors, telecom, biomanufacturing, and also in the area of blue economy or space technologies, which are critical for attaining the global competitiveness for the country. Now, as a scientist, if you have to really see the path of a developed economy, then clearly our innovation leadership has to address the challenges which are affecting our society and our country. So, if you look at all sets of problems, I can divide these problems into broadly in three categories. One is, of course, ensuring the issue of sustainability and fragility. So, issues like climate change, greenhouse gas, also the also the geopolitical shift that is causing the issue of sustainability and fragility. So, basically this area is one where our own existence itself is in could be in danger. So, that of course needs to be preserved, otherwise we cannot talk of a developed economy. So, one is of course that problem. Second is with the growing population and the strain on the resources, we have to address the problem of the resource constraints, and the resource constraints can be in terms of food and water. Another example is like the minerals, materials, etc. So, I think that is another issue that we will have to address. And third, in terms of life expectancy getting improved, in terms of longevity, and in order to have a good quality of life, we need to address the problem of advances in healthcare, transportation, housing, pollution, connectivity, and also the general use of new age technologies such as AI and all. So, these are actually broadly all the challenges that are facing the society can be classified into three buckets, and of course we need some of the technological solutions to that. Some of them are just illustrative here. So, we need to have a strategy which will be resilient, which will be innovative, which will take care of the socio-economic welfare, and which will give us a competitive advantage. So, the Government of India's sectoral focus area has been designed keeping in view broadly this aspect, and therefore we call our strategy to be addressing the risk, that is RISC. So, this is the resilient, innovation, socio-economic welfare and giving us a competitive advantage globally. So this was really the vision in terms of science, technology and innovation policy for attaining the Viksit Bharat, and several sectoral missions that have been planned by the government of India across the ministries recently have really flown from this broad view that we need to address some of these problems in order for our country to become a developed economy and globally competitive. Now, what I will do is I will address some of these sectoral focus and the institutional actions as well. Now, so first let me just come to the institutional initiatives that were taken recently. Now, as I mentioned that, so one of the challenges that I pointed out that we have 1100 plus universities, but only 50 to 60 of them according to Department of Higher Education can be classified as productive in terms of research. But in terms of students population, if you see 96% of our students actually go to the other 1000 universities which are classified as not so productive. And this was one of the main emphasis of the national education policy, which envisioned a comprehensive approach to transforming the quality and quantity of research in India. And it was the recommendation of the national education policy that a national research foundation must be established in order to create the R&D infrastructure in our universities across the country. And so ANRF Act was notified on February 5th, 24, and then erstwhile DST Science and Engineering Research Board was dissolved after this. So the importance of this ANRF, you can clearly see that the governing board of the ANRF is chaired by the Honorable Prime Minister, and the first meeting was held on September 2024. Now, in order to realize this vision, that how we can increase the productivity in our universities, and also how we can emphasize the number of full-time equivalent R&D personnel and therefore do the capacity building, there are four major pillars which have been crafted into ANRF. One, and the most important one, is that the pillar for uplifting the science and technology ecosystem of our universities and colleges. This was the main emphasis, and as I mentioned that about 95% of our students go to these universities and colleges, and therefore it is extremely important to improve the R&D capabilities there. The second one was the emphasis on the translational research. So how we can take the research that is happening at in the labs to a solution focused and outcome oriented research. So there were some sectoral investments that were done. Third is the institutions which are doing well, and as I mentioned about 15 or 20 of the institutions which are doing well, how we can transform them to the global standards, and of course how we can build a capacity in terms of increasing the full-time equivalent R&D personnel and enhance the global collaborations. The ANRF also emphasizes the interdisciplinary research at the intersection of social science, humanities and the science and engineering. So this was also one of the components of this. So now with these four broad themes, now of course we need to convert it into a programmatic interventions. So many of the programs have been launched, some are in the offing. One experiment that was done to improve the R&D in state public universities was this pair program that has been launched. So far in the ANRF we have created 7 networks under the pair programs, where one the hub is a premier tier 1 university, and that is mentoring 5 to 6 maximum of 7 state public universities. So in the pair now we have funded 45 state public universities as a spokes and 7 as the hub. So there is a 7. So about and these 45 state public universities are across the country, and they have been funded in particular thematic areas. So I think that is there is this mission mode programs. Currently, of course, one mission mode programs that has been launched is in the electric mobility. There is a center of excellence. There are several capacity building programs and the partnership with the international body. So this is the pair program that I was talking. This program is about 30 hubs and 169 spoke institutions were considered in the first phase. We have of course only funded right now 45 spoke institutions. 32 of them happen to be state universities, 6 are central universities, 7 are the NITs or triple ITs which were started recently, and as you can see here, these are this is actually the coverage. This program has an outlay of about 750 crores that has been sort of dispersed. We have an EV mission which is sectoral focused, both on motors and drives, on charging infrastructure, and also on the battery storage. Then in center of excellence, we are now of course evaluating the proposals, and then as I mentioned, there are several capacity building programs that the ANRF has launched. ANRF is launching several solution focused and outcome oriented mission mode programs, whether it is in 2D materials, medtechs, critical minerals, drones, and as I mentioned, all of them are flowing from our positioning of these problems within the 3 large buckets that I mentioned in order to address the problems which are facing the societal challenges for our country. And the ANRF will launch the translational research initiatives also for taking a lab scale prototype which is from TRL sort of 1 to 2 to something like a TRL 4 to 5 level as well. Now, once I think the ANRF makes that intervention, as I mentioned, our second problem is that the investment from the private sector in R&D is extremely limited, and that is not happening because our industry and private sectors has shied away from investing in critical technologies which require a longer gestation period, because the private sector thinks that this is highly risky and it requires patient capital, and therefore the private sectors have not been investing in some of these cutting edge technologies or the deep tech. Now we are although as I mentioned that last 2 years we had about 70 to 80 billion dollar of VC investments in our startups, only about 4 to 5 billion dollars out of these 70-80 billion dollar was done in the deep tech sectors. The remaining investment that happened by the venture capital community was in the startups which were not the cutting edge deep tech startups. So as a result, therefore, in order to give a boost to this, the government of India announced setting up of a 1 lakh crore research development and innovation fund. This was approved by the Union Cabinet on the July 1st, and the Department of Science and Technology is a nodal agency. The way in which this fund is going to operate, this fund will give long term very low interest rate loans to the private sector, and it will also invest in the cutting edge deep tech startups through the second level fund managers, which will be the alternate investment funds, etc. And this primarily will finance the high impact project beyond technology readiness level 4. So I think we believe that this 1 lakh crore will actually help mitigate the initial risks of the private sectors, and therefore much in the same way that happened in the Silicon Valley style venture capital community, which were non-existent maybe 10-15 years ago, and that is now available in abundance, but that is not still there in the deep tech and cutting edge. The investment of this 1 lakh crore will perhaps drive a 10 times the investment from the VC community and other investment community for invest in the deep tech cutting edge R&D. So this will therefore sort of close the gap that we believe exists from the basic R&D from TRL 1 to 3 to a TRL 9 to the commercialization stage. As I already mentioned, that in the ANRF we are supporting the basic R&D and will also support up to TRL 3 or 4, and then from there onwards the 1 lakh crore RDI fund can be used to commercialize the technology that has been developed either out of academic institutions or our research labs or universities or even by other other innovators. So the scheme, as I mentioned, was approved by the cabinet on July 1st, that was launched on November 3rd in our Emerging Science, Technology and Innovation Conclave. We have released the implementation guidelines and we are now in the process of appointing the second level fund managers. We have invited the applications for second level fund managers, and we believe that the fund will be in a position to invest in both in corporates as well as, so by the way, this fund is not just for the startups, but this fund will also give funding to the corporates and the industry. The only condition, of course, the project should be really the cutting edge R&D in some sunrise sectors which have been identified by the cabinet in this fund. So this is one critical gap, as I mentioned, that the government has taken the initiative. One, of course, as I mentioned, to improve the research ecosystem in our state public universities. The other is to plug the gap from the basic research into translational, and third is of course to scale the research into a commercializable technology and product and drive the investment from the private sector in the R&D area, and this fund is therefore is closing that gap in terms of commercializations of the technology. Now there are several policy reforms for the scientific community also that was done. The Honorable Minister actually unveiled the reforms to boost the ease of innovations and ease of doing research in last year June, which have actually resulted in reducing the procurement delays and improving the access to the high-end equipment. Now another important aspect in terms of democratizing the access to the knowledge, the initiative that was taken. So these initiatives, you can say, are in the nature of capacity building, of having a one nation, one subscription scheme, which is giving a nationwide access to almost 30 major international publications to 1.8 crore students, faculty, researchers and scientists of central and state higher education institutions and the government R&D labs. So this is in the phase 1. In phase 2 it will get extended to the private universities and the institutions as well. So we are reviewing currently in the 2026, perhaps in the 2027 when we have the phase 2, we can actually think of extending it to the private universities as well, because as I mentioned that currently the scheme is limited to the government central and state higher education institutions. Now in terms of, so as I mentioned, these are some of the institutional reforms. In terms of sectoral focus, so I will take the very important case of the quantum technology. So the National Quantum Mission, with a budget outlay of almost 4,000 crores, is Department of Science and Technology is driving the National Quantum Mission. We have set up 4 thematic hubs, one in quantum computing at IISc Bangalore, quantum communications at IIT Madras, quantum sensing and metrology at IIT Bombay, and quantum materials at IIT Delhi. The focus is to develop the 1000 qubit quantum computer, satellite and fiber optic quantum communication links, and to develop ultra precise quantum sensors and measurement tools. So with these 4 hubs, there are about 14 technical groups covering almost 43 academic institutions and labs, and about 150 researchers which are involved in these hubs. The current status, I should say, is that we funded 2 startups. One like QPI has already a working prototype of 25 qubit superconducting quantum computer. They are in the process of now demonstrating 64 qubit quantum computer, which they should demonstrate in March. But in terms of the chip, the 6-bit photonic chip has been developed at IISc Bangalore, and silicon based 2 qubit chip has been developed at IIT Bombay. In terms of quantum communications, this is another startup that was funded by the National Quantum Mission, QNU Lab. So here that startup has developed 500 kilometer quantum key distribution networks. So that is, I should say, is a very state of the art. In terms of quantum sensing and metrology, the hub at IIT Bombay has developed NV diamond based portable magnetometer, which is actually now ready to be commercialized. So these are some, I should say, early wins in the National Quantum Mission. We have funded 8 startups. So 2 of them I just showed, QNU Lab and QPI, but there are 6 other startups, and now these hubs will further support other startups as well. In terms of the cyber physical systems, which includes aspects like AI, ML algorithms, sensors and robotics and machine, developing the entire cyber physical systems with applications in cyber security, smart grid, precision agricultures, autonomous vehicles, etc. Under this mission, we have set up 23 hubs across the country, and these are all in the specific domains, and all these 23 hubs have been set up as Section 8 companies. So therefore they have the flexibility, and these are of course located in premier academic institutions, IITs, NITs, BITS Pilani, IIIT, etc. And they have the flexibility of therefore in terms of utilization of the funds. Now 4 of them we have upgraded to the Technology Translational Research Park. So one of them is a cyber security hub at IIT Kanpur, another one is a hub as digital healthcare at IIT Indore, third one is the robotics and autonomous vehicles at Art Park IISc Bangalore, and fourth one is the hub which is developing technologies in mining at IIT ISM Dhanbad. So overall I think this mission, so if you look at the startup, so I forgot to tell this is a startup scenario in the country. We have about 2 lakh startups, but it is our estimate that we have about 10,000 or 8,000 deep tech startups. Out of these 8 to 10,000 deep tech startups, about 1,500 to 2,000 are directly supported directly or indirectly through various programs of the Department of Science and Technology or Department of Biotechnology. So in this cyber physical mission itself, we have supported 600 plus startups through these 23 mission hubs that has been done, and so this is indeed a very good case of developing translational research, taking the research which was happening in the IITs, IIITs or BITS Pilani and translating them into a TRL 4-5 level through these section 8 companies which were then spun off as the startups. And with the setting up of this RDI fund, I think the startups which are coming out of these section 8 companies can become a potential deep tech pipeline to avail the scaling or growth fund which is coming from the RDI. Now recently I think we created a last year we created a very big initiative of setting up the foundational AI model, the Bharat Gen. This was supported our mission on cyber physical mission. This foundational AI model has been built for creating a sovereign AI. It is based on 22 Indian languages, and it will support sectors such as agriculture, education, governance, public services, legal and finance. Currently we have a 8 billion parameter model ready. It will be released hopefully in the India AI Summit, Global AI Summit that is being held, that is going to be held in February next year in Delhi. Department of Science and Technology had supported almost 240 crores for this, and now the India AI mission has given another 900 crore to develop this sovereign AI model. We are hoping that by the June we will have a 100 billion our own 100 billion parameter foundational model. 10 billion parameter model in 9 Indian languages is now ready to be unveiled. This has both the text model, the multilingual LLMs for text understanding, it has a speech model for the speech recognition and synthesis, and of course it is the India's largest open data set ecosystem for the AI research and innovation. So this is another important steps that is being taken for the new age technologies. So complementing these efforts, the India AI mission, as I already mentioned, is being run by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. So they have created AI Kosh, India AI dataset platforms, and they have also creating the GPU infrastructure by use of these AI startups and the AI researchers also. The biomanufacturing is also our another key focus area, and I think to address the long term problem of both sustainability, fragility, and also the resource constraint, the biomanufacturing is an important area that we feel where we focus on manufacturing that leverages the living systems with the engineering. So the Department of Biotechnology came out with a Bio E3 policy which emphasizes on creating an ecosystem for technology, innovation, and the public-private partnerships. The Department of Biotechnology is setting up the bio foundries. So several areas like biochemicals, lab-grown foods, precision biotherapeutics, biofuels, they are all areas of focus, and these bio foundries will act as the translational research hubs. In health and medical technologies, again the several initiatives are underway for gene therapy, for example, or advanced treatments, robotics. So the Indian Council of Medical Research has started a MedTech Mitra program which is hand-holding 600 plus innovators in this. So these are some of the sectoral initiatives that I mentioned, either in the area of quantum or cyber physical or AI or biomanufacturing. The Government of India is implementing several other mission mode programs and programmatic interventions. We have about 20 plus missions which are being implemented across several ministries and departments, working on the broad themes which I already illustrated. And this basic theme is that we want to build a world-class scientific and technology ecosystem. We would like to empower the talent and innovation, accelerate the disruptive technology, and create a sustainable future for all of us. Our vision for Viksit Bharat is to emerge as a future-ready, self-reliant global leader which is being founded on the foundations of science, technology and innovation, and which actually leverages the opportunities that exist in our country, both in terms of the research potential that is there and also in terms of the young talents that we have in the country. Of course, as I mentioned, that all these institutional and structural initiatives that have been launched are meant to address the challenges that I also outlined earlier, but those challenges can be converted into opportunities if these programmatic interventions and reforms are implemented successfully. So that's all I think from my side. I think thank you very much. So I can take any questions if.
As I said, questions are invited.
Professor Karandikar, I'm sorry I'm pronouncing your name wrongly. You have told us something very interesting things, how the government is thinking and what needs to be done. I would like to say a few things about the university which you want to bring up better research profile there. I think your second area also where you want industry and institutions to collaborate would mean that people will be giving competitive, people will be asking for competitive grant type of money. Now I would like to say this, that if we don't look into why in the earlier years with the best of intentions we were not able to deliver through the competitive grant system properly, what is it in terms of structural things you are going to do that it will be more biting? That is what I would like to know. And I would humbly like to inform you that in the past 3-4 years after COVID, things have not gone well. There have been some finance ministries reforms, zero budgeting and all that, and people are not being paid for months their salaries in the competitive projects. So that is absolutely demoralizing. If we have that kind of structure going on, then I think your good intentions are not going to lead to, I'm sorry to say this, but good intentions also require some change in attitude and some change in the way we do things.
Yeah. So I think, so let me just tell you like some of the changes in the competitive grant mechanism. I think it is well recognized here that, so just to give you an example of one program in ANRF, the number of proposals that are being received today is, for example, let's look at the Prime Minister's early career grant, which was similar to our erstwhile SERB startup research grant. We received more than 8,000 proposals, but the budget was limited to only about giving about 700 of them. So now in order to therefore do an objective assessment of this and coming to this number, I should say that this aspect do recognize here at the DST, and this needs to be therefore done through a transparent review process, and I think that is being currently definitely one area where this has been discussed in the ANRF, and I believe this will get implemented sort of in the coming months as well. The other problem of what you mentioned about the financial treasury single account and the financial system, I think in the last, because since I am in the midst of that and I know exactly where the problem is, So in the last 1.5 years, I should say that it was actually a transition system, okay, and therefore it took time for stabilization of the things. And I believe that now the things have stabilized, and it may take another 6 to 8 months to get fully stabilized, and then there should not be any problem. But the fact remains so in terms of disbursement and utilizations, the problem should get solved in next 3-4 months. But the fact remains that in such sponsored research or whatever, and also in the government of India, the budgeting system will continue, and therefore the budget will be available only for that year. It cannot be carried forward. The only way in which can be carried forward is to reassign in the next year's budget, and therefore this calls for the scientists and researchers and academics also to change their way of spending the money also, and the spending patterns. It also calls for the way in which the programs are launched by the ministries, because they have to be then aligned with the financial year cycle of that, because usually, see, I'll give you one example. In DST, what used to happen, you can issue a call around say in July, you can do the evaluations by October, November, December, you can release the money in January, the financial year will end in 31st March, the money will remain with the user because you have transferred that money to the savings bank account of the institution. This will not happen now because the money is not going into the savings bank account. So therefore the DST cannot work like this, that you issue a call in October and then do. You have to have all the grants disbursal finished by March and issue the grant only in April. Then you will get in money for the entire year that you had asked for. There will not be any problem. And when the year ends and if you are not able to spend the money, then it will have to be reassigned in the next year only. So I think this system therefore needed the stabilization and also the way of working of both from the grant agency as well as the grantee, and this 2 years period was there, but I'm sure that this has been done in order for the effective utilization of the fund, because there were people which were, so if I issue the funds, there were people who were keeping the money with them and not utilizing them, and therefore this was reducing the available funds which were there. So this is so somewhere it needed to be changed. So it happened to be the year of 2023 to 2025 now, and that did result in disruptions, but I think from next financial year onwards it should get stabilized.
Thank you, Dr. Karandikar, for this wonderful exposition of all the important initiatives of the government, Ministry of Science and Technology towards innovation, promoting innovation, and also compliments to your leadership as Secretary DST. I just want to reflect on two things. The first thing is we have done very well in publications. We are doing very well in patents now in the IPR portfolio. But the gap is in innovation, translating them into a product, technology, process, and a deliverable. So in this, there are two issues. One is academia industry interface is still weak in our country because the industry may not have the same confidence level as you see in the Western countries. So what type of policy and the changes which you are bringing in the Ministry of Technology to strengthen this partnership, collaboration between academia and industry? That is one. The second is with regard to RDI, which is a very ambitious 1 lakh crore the money investment coming from private sector mostly. And how do we change this mindset, what is still existing in the corporate and the private sector in industries, that long gestation? So how do we circumventing and looking at the ambitious 1 lakh crore RDI fund to be flowing in for research and innovation? Can you reflect?
So I think one of the big challenge of the industry academia collaboration is to be weak in the country is because we don't have a robust R&D and science and engineering based product ecosystem in the industry which can talk to academics and take their research and convert this into technology. I think this system does not exist. Academics all over the world, including the US, they do research and publish papers only. No one, technologies and products are developed by industry only. You cannot, it will be an unfair expectation for an IIT or for a university to develop a technology or a product. So this needs to be done in the industry, which is very lacking, and therefore our industry academia linkages are low, because if the industry is having a technology roadmap, if they are developing a product based on science and engineering innovations, they will need academics in order for their long term growth. So therefore I think that linkages are somewhat weak. Now, as I mentioned that we want to change that, as you mentioned, and that's how we would like an ecosystem where industry invests in core R&D, cutting edge R&D, which is actually based on technology development in the sunrise sectors, and that will obviously drive the industry academia relation. Now that is not happening because industry is shying away from investing, and that is where the government has taken the initiative that they can mitigate that risks initially and provide that funding through RDI. Now in some corporates it will happen that they are really hesitant to invest money. They have the mindset and they have the potential, so those corporates will take advantage of this RDI fund and hopefully will start such cutting edge projects. Other startups, other corporates, no matter what funding mechanisms you provide, whether free or not, they have a different mindset, they have a different business model, and therefore they will not take advantage of this. But in India, a silver lining is that we have a large number of cutting edge deep tech startups. As I already mentioned, that we have 100 plus startups which have more than $1 billion US valuations. There is a good pipeline that is coming from several mission mode programs, and our hope is that if these startups are scaled up, if they are providing funding, if they are provided funding for growth and scale, they will become the large industry of tomorrow in our country. And these industries, these large industries of tomorrow will definitely forge partnerships with academia, because their initial DNA did rise from the academia. So if this gets executed as per the plan, and it happens in the next 10-15 years, we should have a scenario where we have 10. So if someone asks me what is the success metrics of the KPI of the RDI fund, in 15 years, if we have created 5 to 8 globally competitive companies which can come from startups, I think we have achieved that. Then those globally competitive companies will start interactions with the academia, and things can change in the. Yes. So this DevTech is one of the areas. So we have 6 sunrise sectors. One is energy, another one is a deep tech like quantum defense space, third one is a biomanufacturing, fourth one is So I think we have 6 sunrise sectors. So defense is definitely one of them.
Okay. So I will request just a short introduction from where you are, and then you can ask your question.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for the informative session. I am Dr. Jivitesh Kumar Rajput from SRMIST, Delhi NCR campus. So I am not asking any question, I am just requesting the things. I don't know how much you are aware of the situation like young researcher we are doing. Actually, there are several universities and departments where so much lack of facilities. the people which are experimental things, they required very small funds. There we can start the things. So actually, when you are open any schemes, so this is the umbrella scheme where any institution, IITs and all can apply. But I feel in the few years, the small plants are settled in the larger tree. Means the people from the reputed institutes were apply. So the institute, the people, they are apply from the small institution, they can ignore. I don't know what it can happen. Definitely the people from the large institutes are very informative work or good research. But as in PM Early Care scheme, you were launched, and the scheme has 60 lakhs the corpus. But I requesting, because this is the good platform where we are interacting the right person, you can start the scheme which have a smaller corpus like 15 lakhs and all for the dedicatedly for the private universities, so they can start initiative the research, and after completing the first project and first fund, we can move to the another things. So this is only my request to do something like that.
Any other question? We have lot of student. Any question from a student? Okay. Okay. So.
Good evening, I'm Santosh Kapuria from IIT Delhi. Thank you for this very nice exposition. I'm just curious to know that you mentioned there are many startups actually in the deep tech also. So, because couple of years back in IIT Delhi, we wanted to showcase some startups, and one of them, we brought I think in the convocation, and so one of the startup was like making an app for this trading cows. Like you need the farmers actually buy cows, different kinds of cows from different markets in India. It's very difficult to actually personally go and see, and so to facilitate that business. So it was a good thing. That's certainly extremely laudable, but that is in the service sector. So how many of the startups that we are talking about in India are actually in the product, in the manufacturing sector, which are not really digital products, physical space projects? What are the success stories, if we can share?
No, I already mentioned that there are about 10 to 12,000 startups which are in the deep tech area. You want success stories, or I can give you like hundreds of startups of success stories, which are doing extremely well, which also have 120 startups which are having a US $1 billion, more than US $1 billion valuations. At least I know, of course I don't know the list of all 120 we can do, but at least I know couple of them which are real deep tech startups. One of them, for example, I can tell you, startups founded by IIT Bombay, CAR T cell therapy. There is a valuation of close to $1 billion, and they have developed a cell therapy based product for treating cancer. That has brought down the cost from $1 million to 25 lakhs. It went to a complicated process of CDSO approval, the full drug, for the last 8 years. They now have not only a platform but a drug which is commercially available. Started by an IIT Bombay biotech professor. So, I can go on, and we have a huge potential in the country, and I know several startups which came out of academic institutions and are doing phenomenally well, not just in technology but in business. No, they recently got $100 million investment, and So they are, I mean, because they have to develop now a big GMP facility they are setting up in Navi Mumbai. So manufacturing facility, a very large manufacturing facility. So they have raised an investment of almost $100 million. So that's real deep tech startups. One deep tech startup is Idea Forge, with which I was I taught Ankit as a student. He was in my class. It's a startup which had an IPO. It's a drone manufacturing company. It's one of the very flourishing drone manufacturing companies. It supplies to our Indian defense. It's generate a huge revenue in several hundred crores. So that is and very key technologies they are developing. So there are many startups, upcoming startups. I can tell you, startups which is developing rare earth magnet free motors for EV. There are startups like that. I mean, there are hundreds of startups which are, I mean, if you want to call them as a startup, but Idea Forge is now an industry. This ImmunoAct is the name of that CAR T cell therapy company. ImmunoAct, that's now a company. That's like a company. So and when these industries come up, these new edge entrepreneurs starting these industries, when they scale, and the RDI fund is actually for that. In 10 years, I can tell you that we will have 10 to 15 globally competitive companies, which 20 years or 25 years back, companies like Infosys or became today, these companies will become in that technology space. So that is the potential that we can see. And I mentioned in cyber physical missions, 600 startups have been directly funded by DST's mission. I know at least 10 of them I know personally are doing cutting edge work. In under National Quantum Mission, I just showed this QPI, which is developing a 64 qubit quantum computer. That is a revenue generating company. They generate a revenue of 2 to 3 million US. They have a machine, 25 qubit quantum computer, and they have some of the world's best global clients for which they are doing materials discovery services. It's a Bangalore based startups. They have 65 people, 45 of them are PhDs in science and engineering. So that is the scale.
Why not give them a grant?
No, we will make through RDI fund. See, we cannot give a grant, because grant we give through our programs like Nidhi Prayas and several. These people now need 200 crores. 100. These are not small, and RDI fund will provide that, because they are not getting to go from where they are to go to the next step. They need 200, 300 crores. That money can be available through RDI fund. And if that is provided, they can crack, they can become globally competitive, because people give them 5 crores, 10 crores, even DST gave, even in National Quantum Mission we give. Now they need 300, 400 crores if they want to become globally competitive. So that is the money which RDI fund will give. It is total corpus is 1 lakh crore. And same thing I said, QKD, this QNU Labs, they have a working prototype, 500 kilometers QKD link. Only 5 companies in the world make that product currently. Now, if you want to scale that company, you need 1,000 crores. They can become top 3 companies in the world. So that is the money that is needed. So it's not like we don't have I'm fully familiar with the deep tech ecosystem, so I can actually tell you what is the landscape in the country. And it is very, very encouraging, and I can tell you that in the next 15 years, we will have a new so-called startups, actually the tomorrow's industry. Yeah, that is already exists.
Okay, So thank you, sir, for giving such a elaborate answer and beautiful lecture. I will ask Ananya to proceed further.
Thank you so much, sir. Your entire presentation was truly enriching and enlightening. I have written a full page of notes from your presentation, so mentioning all would take again another 10 minutes. Thank you so much. Thank you for mentioning about the RISC policy, the genesis of ANRF, RDI, ease of doing research, One Nation, One Subscription, National Quantum Mission, and towards the very end, taking the questions from our audience. Thank you so much, sir. I now request Professor Shekhar Mande sir to present the token of honor to our esteemed guest Professor Abhay Karandikar sir for delivering the distinguished lecture on the 91st INSA Foundation Day. We are honored to inform the gathering that Professor Abhay Karandikar sir is the Fellow of Indian National Science Academy in recognition of his outstanding contributions to science, technology, and national leadership. Thank you so much, sir, and extending a warm congratulations to you. With this, I now invite and hand over the stage to Dr. Brajesh Pandey, Executive Director, INSA, to deliver the vote of thanks, followed by National Anthem.
Good evening, Namaskar. Respected dignitaries on the dais, distinguished fellow of the Academy, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. As we come to the close of this august and intellectually enriching program, it is my privilege and honor to propose a vote of thanks on behalf of Indian National Science Academy. At the outset, I extend my sincere and heartfelt gratitude to Professor Abhay Karandikar sir, Secretary Government of India, Department of Science and Technologies, and Fellow of Indian National Science Academy for delivering the INSA Distinguished Public Lecture on transforming science and technology landscape towards the Viksit Bharat. His address was insightful and thought-provoking, offering value perspective of India's evolving science and technology ecosystem and stimulating meaningful discussion as reflected in the engaging interaction that followed. I would also like to place on record our deep appreciation to Professor Shekhar Mande, President INSA, for his insightful opening remark, which set the tone of the Foundation Day celebration and reaffirmed INSA's enduring commitment to the advancement of science and service to the society, even as the Academy proudly remarks its 91st year of establishment. My sincere thanks to all esteemed dignitaries, especially from Department of Science and Technology, Delhi University, Jawaharlal Nehru University, MIT University, SRM University, and all the other colleges and colleges affiliated to Delhi University. I extend my warm thanks to all the participants and members of scientific community whose presence has added meaning, dignity, and vibrancy to this celebration. I thanks to all who have attended this program online. Finally, I wish to acknowledge and appreciate the dedicated effort of the INSA staff to make this program successful. With this, thanks to all and thanks for joining this lecture. We have national anthem. I request you to please be there. Please stand on the place.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे, तव शुभ आशीष मागे, गाहे तव जय गाथा। जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे जय हे जय हे, जय 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 हे। मन अधिनायक जय हे।
Gather in front of the INSA main building for the group photograph followed by refreshments. Thank you.